going to be tying this nymph right here. It's on a jig hook. I haven't done a jig hook nymph because I don't really tie them. But I want to start because I like them a lot. They're cool. And I wanted to do a simple one in a modern take on a simple fly. So it's a pheasant-tailed nymph, but it's got a little pearl on there. And if you saw my last nymph video, I like this pearl. Pearl is really cool. You can use it on anything. Now the hook I'm using is Daiichi. I love Daiichi. This is size 14, right? They call this the 4647. It's a nickel colored hook, which I really like the look of. It says it's a limerick bend. Right? If you don't know what a jig hook is, you can see the little bend in it right there. And the bead I'm using is a tungsten bead. Really want to use that tungsten. So heavy, incredibly heavy. Especially you need it because there's a slot in these beads. Maybe if I can turn it like this. Is there a way you can see that slot? Is it possible to see the slot? It's hard to tell with the nickel. But there's a slot in this bead, and that slot allows you to get it around the bend. Because, and it also helps orientate it up here. You can see it's a little bit high. So it helps get around the bend. You can't get a regular bead around this bend. Now on a different hook, maybe you can. Maybe they make a jig hook with a really big bend. But this is sort of like a shallow bend. And that makes it very difficult to get a bead around. But with the slot in it, it works no problem. It also helps you orientate it. But that slot being taken out removes weight. Think about that. So if this was a brass bead, and they had a slot in it, it would weigh even less than it already does. So tungsten is the way to go, in my opinion, on a slotted bead. And this is the one I'm using here. See that? And usually what I do here is that they put a staple through this thing. So you take off the cardboard that has everything written on it, and then you end up throwing it in the garbage. I just rip off the top and I put it in the bag. Right? And tungsten beads, they can be expensive. You should buy them in bulk if you're really going to tie a lot of these things. I mean, this was $8. And you're getting 20 beads. Now, it's all about weight on these things when you buy them. So the smaller the bead, the less money they should be. Because it's all about weight. It's all about material. All right, this thread I'm using is this Giorgio Benici. This is like the super fine, I think it's called. It's not the ultra fine. It's the one above that. This is like 10-0, I think, and it's in the color tobacco, but it's tan, essentially tan. And I'm gonna add just a little bit more weight with this is 015 lead, and we don't need too many turns. Now you don't want this bead to be right up against the eye. You don't want that. You want a little bit of slack in it. And I put the thread on at the last turn of the lead, and that kind of helps it stop it from sliding. Just the last turn. You could put it right behind too, but I don't really want it to go this way. If I push this bead all the way up and I push the lead all the way to it, then I don't have to catch that last turn because all I'm worried about is it going this way. Pheasant tail. Just the classic natural pheasant tail. And pretty much a pheasant tail is tied basically like this. This is just a modern take on it with the jig hook. And you need, I don't know, 6 or 7. You don't need that many. Make sure the ends are straight here. And you don't need a long tail. This is something that I think maybe some people don't realize they tie these nymphs. Is that a nymph really doesn't have a long tail on it. And that might even be too long, honestly. Yeah, that's it. That's short tail. So 2 turns. And you get your wire. This wire that I'm using is a gold ultra wire small. See that? And we tie it in here with 1 turn. Then we lift up this pheasant tail and we go in front of it and we tie it in good. Okay. Then we're coming a little bit short of the end. That's what you want. And you're going to wrap it counterclockwise. Now this can be a little bit annoying doing this. I say counterclockwise because I'm looking at it this way. But basically the opposite way, essentially. Try and keep it tight. And then we bring this thread over and we catch it. We want to catch it on the top. 2 turns and then lock it off with some turns there. And you can keep it. You can just let that go. Then we make 1 turn with the wire in the back. And then we come up with just some segmentation. And I think that's what that is for. Okay. Let me hold that. You can even bend it over. That's a good idea. Hold this tight. And just roll that off. Now, one of the classic styles of the pheasant tail is you're using this when there's no bead, or even when there is a bead. You fold this back like this, and you do that, and you put your dubbing in here, and then you pull this over, and that's the wing case. But in this one, going a little bit modern, we got the jig hook, so we're going to do things a little bit differently. Tie this in, and we're going to rotate it to the bottom. Just make sure this is in focus. Yeah. All right, so now we get our pearl. So this is like a medium pearl. If you haven't seen my last video, I really like pearl because it takes on the color that it's on top of. I really like it. It's very versatile. So we got it upside down because this is how it should ride. Jig hooks are supposed to ride like this. That's the whole point of them. This nymph here, this is like a variation of a nymph that I saw my friend Dan using. That's he's New Jersey Fly on Instagram, and he was using a nymph kind of like this. It was a jig hook pheasant tail, but it didn't have the pearl on it. He was using the pheasant tail as the wing case, and I liked it a lot because I liked it because he was using this the dubbing that I'm going to show you right now. I'm just making sure this is tight in there. I'm folding it over. He was using this. Right, ice dub and pheasant tail, and he was mixing it with some sort of fur. Couldn't remember at that moment, but I'm assuming it's just some sort of hare's ear or something like that. And yeah, so the only difference from mine and his was that he didn't use this pearl, and he didn't use it on the bottom. He used it on the top. He just used pheasant tail as the case. So we just mix up a bunch of this, right? We have the 2 right here. No, that's not enough. So we're going to get some more. You need a decent amount because you're going to brush it out. Yeah, something like that, we'll see. Make sure it's tight right in there. And if you keep it loose, it reduces the amount of dubbing you need. Yeah, that's all right. Now this is another different thing I don't think you see very often. We're going to take this pearl and we're actually going to go and we're going to attach it in front of the bead. See that? And the way we do that is, you probably saw this on Bryn's March Brown nymph. You put like a, and you can put two. Put a whip finish in here. Make sure it's on the top. See that? The knot's on the top. And then you bring it over and you go right around that eye. Make sure, this is why we keep that bead loose, because you want to get the thread in there. There it is. You'll hear it click. And this is definitely different. So just take your time. What you want to do is, the pearl, you want to pull it to your side. Pull it to your side and then let it roll in front of the eye. And you're not going to have much room, so you want to go right into a whip finish. And sometimes it's easier too if you cut most of this off right here. And if you see, you're whip finishing just around the eye part. You're making sure it's nice and tight, but you don't need that many whip finishes because you're gonna cover it. Now this is another part. Making this like a neat cut, it's kind of difficult. It's really kind of difficult. But if you cover it first, you can get it close and not really worry about screwing anything up. So a little bit of UV. Make sure the dubbing's out of the way because you don't want to catch any of that dubbing. You don't need much of this UV. There you go. And while you're here, if you want, you can put a little bit underneath where that thread is. Once we get this thing good, we're going to brush it out. But now that that's in there, now you can get in here with a razor blade if you want. I highly suggest using a sharp razor blade. And you can even see that there's a little piece. You can just never get it tight. That's just the way it is when you tie it off up here. Bend it over with your nail, that's fine. Now you get your little brush, whatever you happen to use. That's it. If you look here, it's just got the legs out. See that? Probably better if I take it off. There you go. So you can see, hopefully, a little cover right there, pearl. Sort of got there, you can tell right there, I think maybe it's got a brown look to it. But then maybe when you turn it a little bit more, you can see a green. But it's got that brown right there because I'm head on with you. And it's taking on the color from below. And that's it. It's a little modern take on a pheasant tail. It's gonna ride like this. See that? It's going to be coming at you like that. Well, not at you, unless you were a fish. But a little bit different of a move here. I don't think you really see many people doing that, where they're tying it off at the top. Right? You don't see that very often. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. You just got to make sure you keep that bead loose. And don't really worry about it being a little bit messy up there. Just forget it. It's a nymph, right? Keep that tail short, even though you really want it to be long. Everybody wants a tail to be long, I think, because they think it's got more movement. I agree, but I agree with that. There's more movement when it's long. But my nymph's got a short tail. That's just the way it is. All right. Thanks, everyone.